Not long ago, the AFC West looked like it might be the best division in football. Russell Wilson had just been traded to the Broncos, setting up a mouth-watering race for the division title between him, Justin Herbert, and Patrick Mahomes. Unfortunately, as we all know, it didn't turn out that way. Like, not at all. Russ turned out to be the worst trade in NFL history, and the Chargers continued on their frustrating trend of mediocrity. As we all know, the Chiefs held up their end of the bargain, continuing with what appears to be an unstoppable dynasty. However, with Bo Nix in Denver and Jim Harbaugh in LA, is this division finally on the road to recovery? And while I do fully expect that the AFC West is going to be a lot closer than many people think this division is going to be, I still fully have the Chiefs delivering with what everybody thinks they're going to do in 2024, and I'm hoping that they can achieve the three-peat. I do get it. Last year was a struggle, but a Super Bowl title still emerged from their campaign. And I mean, to be honest, that is frankly terrifying for the rest of the NFL because this offense was painful to watch. It was a different type of team from the Chiefs that we had seen, and it was the defense that bailed Mahomes out for once, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the same story again in 2024. After watching Sky Moore underperform and Kadarius Toney test out how many different ways he can make a mistake, the Chiefs decided it was about time they got their $500 million man some weapons. Marquise Hollywood Brown arrived in free agency, and Xavier Worthy arrived via the draft. They joined sophomore wideout Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce, instantly upgrading this offense from a Ford Focus in 2023 to a red-hot Ferrari in 2024. I mean, like, to be frank, this is a dream offense for Mahomes, whose 7 yards per attempt placed him below the league average last year. He now has two truly dangerous deep threats in Worthy and Brown, while also benefiting from another exciting talent in Rice to go get targets underneath. And then when you add in some Kelce magic and Pacheco out of the backfield, you have dangerous weapons all over the place for arguably the best quarterback in NFL history. Like, if that's not scary, then I don't know what is. On top of that, I don't expect this defense to really fall off from their elite status either. Yes, L'Jarius Sneed heading to Tennessee wasn't really ideal, but it was a necessary sacrifice to ensure that the ultimate disruptor, Chris Jones, stayed in the building. Jones is the spearhead of a lethal defensive line with Nick Bolton swarming over the middle and Trent McDuffie leading a young and talented secondary. McDuffie is absolutely in a position to break out and solidify his status as one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, which will soften the blow of Sneed's departure for sure. With Steve Spagnuolo pulling the strings on defense and Andy Reid masterminding this offense, it's hard to see any other team as the favorite for the Super Bowl title this year. I mean, honestly, the biggest thing that seems to be the issue for this team is just having the pressure of everybody expecting them to go and three-peat this year. Like, everybody knows that they're going to make the playoffs, so now the question really just becomes, can they achieve that greatness and just kind of have this success at the beginning of the season this year? It's really during that time at the beginning of the season that we might also see them get creative with their game plans and lighten the load on Kelce, ensuring they are as prepared as possible for the postseason. I mean, honestly, I could see a couple of games slipping away from them, but they will stay my heavy favorite for the division title, and I put their ceiling at 14 wins and their floor at 10. Second in the AFC West, I'm going to have to put the LA Chargers, who returned to that spot after a dismal last place outing in 2023. After persistent failures from the Brandon Staley regime, the Chargers made the smart decision of bringing in a guy who absolutely knows how to win, Jim Harbaugh. I mean, the reality is that this team needed a complete culture change. They had become renowned for coming up small in the biggest of moments, and Harbaugh's complete overhaul is exactly what they needed. And look, I think the biggest takeaway that we're going to see from this team this year is that they've been equipped and kind of brought in players to make sure that they can run the damn ball. And I know you've probably heard it 100 times, or I mean, so many times this offseason, but it's very, very true. Greg Roman is in as offensive coordinator. The 5th overall pick was spent on a behemoth offensive lineman. The top 2 wide receivers were sent packing, and the primary free agent additions were 2 ex-Raven running backs and 2 blocking tight ends. Everyone knows what they're doing, and you can't blame them for going in that direction. Jim Harbaugh has an NFL regular season record of 44-19-1 and was heartbreakingly close to winning the Super Bowl. The question really becomes, how long is it going to take for them to turn this team around then? Like, I mean, this team could only muster 5 wins in 2023, and on top of that, in the offseason, they saw a lot of talent leave this room. And truly, I think a lot will ride on the performance of the offensive line. It sure looks like Harbaugh got a good one in Joe Alt, potentially creating the best tackle duo in the NFL when you factor in Rashawn Slater on the other end of the line. But I mean, you really never know with rookies, and there is another new face at center with Bradley Bozeman coming in to replace Corey Linsley. And I mean, Harbaugh will be hoping that this line can click instantly, which is going to be essential if his run-oriented and efficient passing attacks are going to work. And I mean, even when when they do look to turn the ball, they have one of the best talents in the NFL at quarterback. Simply put, Justin Herbert is an absolute stud, but he has had almost all of his playmakers stripped away from him now. To make up for it, the Chargers drafted Ladd McConkey, a rapid receiver out of Georgia, who is one of the best route runners in the draft. McConkey does lack size, but he makes up for it by getting open with ease. I fully expect he and Josh Palmer should be regular targets when Herbert does drop back to pass, with the team hoping to then see any signs of life, which it's kind of scary to see Quentin Johnston dropping so many passes in training camp, but they're going to be hoping that last year's first rounder in Quentin Johnston can turn it around this year. On defense though, the Chargers opted to keep both Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, despite them being 29 and 33-year-olds respectively. This is another nod toward the run game and defensive strategy, and there is no doubt that both can be dangerous if they stay healthy. Asante Samuel Jr., Derwin James, and Gilman then lead a secondary that is desperately in need of a bounce back after conceding the 30th most passing yards in 2023 with 4,246. And while there are definitely gaps on the roster, Charger fans have to feel great about their prospects. Jim Harbaugh is a serious football guy, and this team now has an identity. I mean, if their offensive line can click and dominate early, and Edwards and Dobbins can thrive, I can see this team easily hitting 10 wins, if not more. However, if Alt takes time to adjust and the wide receiver depth just becomes a problem, in addition to Mack and Bosa showing their age, I could see this team having a floor of around like 6 wins. Now, third place for me goes to the Denver Broncos, and honestly, I could even see them trying to make a push to get second place in this division. Like, I mean, their roster is littered with solid but not spectacular players, and without many high-profile offseason moves to get excited about. Simply put, though, the elephant in the room on that front is the $53 million in dead cap they are swallowing this season in order to get Russell Wilson out of the building. This takes their total dead cap up to over $70 million. They have another $32 million from the Wilson deal with next year, so this feels like a team who are treading water as they wait for that to pass. Like, I mean, they're not quite fully committing to a full rebuild, but also not exactly posing a threat as a Super Bowl contender either. Like, they're almost in limbo. I think the primary goal for this season is to ensure that Bo Nix is just really given every possible opportunity to succeed and give this fan base a glimmer of hope. Thankfully, the presence of some very talented veterans at key positions gives Nix something to work with, suggesting this shouldn't be a situation like the one Bryce Young faced last year. Garrett Bowles, Mike McGlinchey, and the rest of the O-line are unlikely to improve to become a top 10 unit in 2024, but they are also not among the worst in the league. Like, all in all, they should be able to keep Nix up on his feet and give him enough time to process his reads and adjust to the speed of the game. Nix will also be supported by a solid run game, with Javonte Williams likely to see improvements now that he is another year removed from injury. And Jaleel McLaughlin offered some much needed explosiveness. At wide receiver, Courtland Sutton provides a reliable, big body target on the outside for Nix to aim at, while Josh Reynolds brings a valuable veteran presence. Beyond them, the Broncos have intriguing upside in Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin, who will be hoping to develop into explosive weapons downfield. Franklin in particular has a strong rapport with Nix, having thrived together at Oregon. And I mean, while it isn't a receiving core that will frighten defenses too much, there is at least something for Nix to work with. The other good news for Bo Nix is, I mean, he has one of the greatest offensive minds in Sean Payton on his side. Like, I mean, Payton and frankly just the whole NFL community has compared Nix to Drew Brees, with the young quarterback showing similar tendencies as a decisive, quick, and accurate passer. I really expect Payton to just really keep it simple for Nix, and so long as he can be well protected and supported by his offense, he should be able to move the ball well from day one. Even as we've seen in the preseason, this dude looked good. On defense, Patrick Surtain is the one surefire stud, headlining a defense that is likely to struggle again after losing the likes of Justin Simmons, Josie Jewell, and Kareem Jackson. John Franklin Myers was the big ticket addition to the defensive line, but he was only available because he struggled to break through with the Jets. I mean, there is serviceable talent throughout the defense, but it feels dangerously light on game changers, which suggests Nix could be playing from behind a fair bit. On the whole, results come behind Bo Nix's development as a top priority this year. Like, I mean, this team was really always going to struggle with over $70 million in dead cap, so focusing on simply helping Nix adjust to life in the NFL has to be the goal. If he hits the ground running as his experience in college suggests he should, then I think he will fill the fan base up with hope. With the playmakers at his disposal, I think a good rookie season from Nix could lift them to a ceiling of 9 or 10 wins. However, there is a scenario where he struggles, and with the defense also expected to be pretty vulnerable, I place their floor at about 5 wins. Are you looking for a new book this football season? BetUS is the answer. They have the fastest and easiest payouts in the industry, along with 24/7 personalized service 365 days a year. Not only that, but they have live wagering on all major games, so if you see something mid-game and want to make a wager on it, You can. And the best part is you get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. And now look, you guys know I had to come through for you, so use my sign up link in the description or pinned comment and get a sign up bonus of 125% up to $2,000. Again, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video, but for now, let's hop back into it. Now in last place in the AFC West, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, they have some of the most interesting moves this offseason, most notably bringing in defensive tackle Christian Wilkins. And I mean, after a stellar start to his career in Miami, Wilkins signed with the Raiders for a whopping $100 million over the next 4 years. His presence next to Max Crosby instantly makes the Raiders defensive line a very dangerous proposition. Crosby is a menace coming off of the edge and is a perennial defensive player of the year contender. He notched 14.5 sacks last year and will now combine with Wilkins, who had 9 sacks at defensive tackle, to terrorize quarterbacks. And I mean, they're going to need to do that too, because their division has some really good quarterbacks too, in the likes of Mahomes, Herbert, and even Bo Nix if he pans out. On top of that, Robert Spillane is coming off of a sensational season at linebacker, and Jack Jones looks like he's ready to break out as an elite corner, meaning this defense does have exciting playmakers in every unit. They still have a lot of gaps to fill, but I mean, this unit is starting to come together really nicely. The bigger question marks for sure have to come on the offensive side of the ball for this team. For now, Gardner Minshew has been named the starter at quarterback, but there have to be some question marks about how long he's gonna hold on to the job for. And I mean, yes, he did a great job in Indianapolis last year and he almost propelled them into the playoffs, but I think a lot of credit has to go to Shane Steichen's scheme for that. Minshew will at least benefit from having some very exciting weapons on offense. Devontae Adams, I mean, he's still a stud at receiver, and the selection of Brock Bowers at pick 13 all but guarantees a lot of 12 personnel action for the Raiders. Bowers and last year's second round pick Michael Mayer are an intriguing tight end pairing with the potential to create serious mismatches for the Raiders. Jacoby Myers remains a useful wide receiver too, and Trey Tucker hopefully developing into a bigger role this year as well. With the offensive line fitting into the not good or not bad category and Zamir White looking promising at running back, there is potential for solid offensive play this year, but I mean, I honestly think that the quarterback is going to be the problem with this team. And I mean, like, if anybody watched the wide receiver show on Netflix called Receiver, everybody saw how frustrated Devontae Adams was during that show. And if things don't start off well at the beginning of this year, I could see a lot of the same things happening again this season. And I mean, if that does happen, and I mean, in that scenario, I could see really Las Vegas shipping him off for just a haul of picks to, I don't know, maybe the Jets or somebody that needs a receiver by the deadline, and they just get a haul of picks and maybe even an early pick in the draft to go and try and get a quarterback from next year's draft class too. I mean, on Saturday, Moss looked really good. Like, that dude might win the Heisman, so I could easily see them trying to go and get him if he does keep up with that kind of play. For the coaching position though, Antonio Pierce certainly brought good vibes last year and inspired some late season wins, but I mean, he lacks coaching experience, and I feel like this team could be on the brink of a fall. I honestly have their ceiling at 6 wins and their floor at like 3. So maybe this time next year, we're prepping for the 2025 season with Las Vegas' shiny new quarterback at the helm. All in all though, I personally think that the Chiefs are going to run this division again this year. Like, I mean, I think they're just going to easily run away with it. I mean, they've been dominating it for like the past like 4 or 5 years, while Mahomes has been the quarterback. So I fully expect that to happen again this year. I'm hoping that Bo Nix does become a great quarterback though. Like, he's looked great in the preseason. If he can carry that over into the regular season, then maybe he's the CJ Stroud of this year. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see. But as always, give me your record predictions down low of who you think is going to win this division, who's going to become in last place in this division. And also, if you guys have not, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the video. If you can, share it with somebody that loves the NFL. We are 4 days away, so make sure you guys are sharing it and like and comment and subscribe. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next one.